Harrison Ford, a timeless Hollywood icon, carried the weight of entire galaxies as Han Solo and redefined heroism as Indiana Jones. He became the face of adventure for a generation, embodying courage that made the impossible legendary. His voice, eyes, and presence are etched into cinema's eternity, a flame unquenched by time. Behind those immortal roles, however, is a man tested by storms, broken marriages, a daughter's struggle with epilepsy, and a near-fatal plane crash that left lifelong scars. Yet like the heroes he portrayed, Ford stood tall, scarred but never defeated, the embodiment of unyielding spirit. Now at 83, we face a heartbreaking question. What pain haunts this living legend in his final chapter? Before diving in, please like to honor the man who gave us immortal heroes, now facing battles no camera has ever captured. Harrison's greatest struggle wasn't against villains, but the crushing silence of his own childhood. A silence that nearly swallowed him before his acting journey began. Born July 13, 1942, in Chicago, to artistic parents, he seemed destined for the stage. Yet the boy who would captivate millions battled a heavy shyness that felt like invisible prison bars. By age 10, his life was shaped by a complex identity, Jewish mother, Irish Catholic father, that left him restless and never fully belonging. He stood on the classroom and playground edges, watching bonds form while he remained unseen, a loneliness that carved deep scars. But seeds of adventure took root. At 13, as a Boy Scout, he found freedom in nature, the whisper of trees, still lakes, boundless skies, offering escape the classroom never could. Decades later, that love for freedom fueled his passion for flying planes, chasing the same skies he loved as a boy. Back in school, shyness closed in again, shadowing his teen years with faltering grades and fading confidence. At Ripon College studying philosophy, Ford nearly flunked out, feeling lost and invisible, the same childhood shadows haunting him. Then, almost by accident, a drama class in his final college year sparked a breakthrough. Trembling on stage, he found a long-buried voice. For the first time, the invisible boy felt seen. The world began to hear him. That early pain forged something unbreakable. Echoes of struggle carried through every daring role. The world would know him as a fearless hero, but his greatest victory began long before the cameras, in the silent fight to escape his own shadows. At 22, Ford arrived in Hollywood carrying little more than a beat-up car and fragile hope. A contract with Columbia Pictures promised $150 a week, a fleeting golden key. But reality was harsh. His roles were unnamed phantoms, faces lost before credits rolled. From silence to invisibility, Ford felt swallowed by the cruel spotlight of Hollywood's forgetfulness. Years later, he recalled humiliating auditions where judgment arrived before he spoke, a harsh truth for a boy who once fought silence itself. By his mid-20s, Harrison Ford was more than an aspiring actor. He was a husband and father with mounting responsibilities. Dreams couldn't pay bills, and auditions often ended in rejection, leaving him struggling to answer his children's silent questions. Forced by necessity, he turned to carpentry to provide, though each table he built felt like bearing his dreams. Watching his peers rise, Ford felt like an outsider, grappling with doubt and the crushing weight of responsibility. Yet his fire never died. Working in carpentry for Hollywood insiders kept him connected to the industry. At 31, fate intervened. George Lucas cast him in American Graffiti, a small role but a crucial step from obscurity. Then came the turning point, a carpenter's job leading to an unforgettable audition for Star Wars. Ford walked in as a carpenter, walked out as Han Solo. Overnight, he became the face of rebellion, finally seen by a world that only wanted the myth, not the man. In 1981, Raiders of the Lost Ark gave birth to Indiana Jones, redefining adventure. With Han Solo and Indy, Ford carried entire mythologies but understood the toll. You don't get to walk away from them. They follow you everywhere. Despite their shadow, he pushed beyond franchises. Blade Runner showed his depth. Witness earned him an Oscar nod. The Fugitive displayed raw defiance, and Air Force One embodied unshakable American spirit. Each role built an empire of emotion and myth, with paychecks soaring from $10,000 for Star Wars to $65 million for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. By the 90s, his films grossed $9 billion, making him a cinema cornerstone. But beneath applause lay silence. Fame lifted him high, yet trapped him in a mask he couldn't remove. Though the world saw an invincible hero, Han, Indy, President, and fugitive, the man beneath bore a lonely weight. In the quiet, Harrison Ford faced a harsher truth. He had become more symbol than man. The spotlight that made him immortal stole his anonymity, rest, and fragile peace. Though he conquered the world on screen, myths born in fame never die. His rising fame fractured his marriage to Mary Marquardt, who had stood by him through obscurity. Married in 1964, she bore the weight of poverty and his quiet struggles. But when Star Wars exploded in 1977, Ford became a global icon and a stranger at home. Fame widened the distance between them. Rumors of an affair with Carrie Fisher deepened Mary's wounds, and by 1979, their 15-year marriage quietly ended. Their sons, Ben and Willard, watched their family split beneath Hollywood's bright lights, a father adored by millions but unable to hold his home together. Ford seldom spoke of Mary later, caught between memories of who she believed in and who he became. Despite his galaxy-spanning success, he lost the most crucial battle: love at home. From that wreckage, Ford found solace in Melissa Mathison, a gifted screenwriter behind E.T. Married in 1983, they briefly found peace with their children, Malcolm and Georgia. But shadows soon crept in. Georgia was diagnosed with epilepsy, a torment no fame could shield against. Ford, the indestructible hero, was powerless against his daughter's seizures. He auctioned his Han Solo jacket to fund research, a desperate father bartering stardom for hope. Melissa quietly bore her pain, guarding Georgia while their marriage strained under Ford's absences and relentless fame. By the late 90s, isolation crept in, and in 2004, after over 20 years, they divorced. The $85 million settlement made headlines, but the true cost was heartbreak, the slow dissolution of love and family. Their children inherited both talent and scars. Fate's cruelest blow came in 2015 when Melissa was diagnosed with neuroendocrine cancer. Within months, she passed at 65, closing another painful chapter in Ford's life. By the time Melissa Mathison passed, Ford was remarried, yet her death hollowed him deeply. Reporters noticed his uncharacteristic silence, a man folding inward. Melissa had been more than an ex-wife. She witnessed his rise from struggling carpenter to global legend, raised his children, and shared his burdens. Her passing wasn't just another headline, it erased a piece of Ford himself. Friends say grief finally pierced his armor. A man who survived crashes and stunts was powerless against this final blow. Years later, he seldom spoke of her. When he did, his words were clipped, pauses heavy, his silence louder than words. He was a husband who lost twice, a father who begged fate in vain, understanding some battles cannot be won. Ford's life with Melissa was far from glamour, marked by a daughter's illness, a marriage strained by fame, and a loss made permanent. Publicly fearless, privately marked by grief and failure, he learned legends cannot save loved ones. What remained was silence, a home once shared, children who lost their mother, laughter that would never echo again. It was the suffocating void he'd tried to outrun since childhood, returning now with cruel force. Fame gave him everything, yet in her absence took it all away. Amid this, a quiet yet haunting chapter surfaced, a secret 3-month affair with Carrie Fisher during the 1976 filming of Star Wars. Carrie, 19 and vulnerable. Ford, 34, a husband and father with fame pressing close. On-screen Han and Leia's chemistry spilled into reality. Laughter and escape from burdens for Ford, gravity and steadiness for Carrie. Their brief, intense connection played out behind cameras. Whispers, lingering looks, blurred lines between role and reality. Both knew it would end when filming wrapped, Ford returning to his life, Carrie to hers. The world learned of this secret only in 2016, months before Carrie's death, when she revealed it in her memoir, The Princess Diarist, speaking not with bitterness, but longing, a ghost released at last. Ford stayed silent, his quiet confession to their shared past. Then came the cruelest blow. In December 2016, Carrie Fisher died suddenly at 60. For millions, it was the loss of Princess Leia, a rebel icon. For Ford, it was the silencing of a woman who'd seen him as a man, not a legend. His brief statement honored her as one of a kind, brilliant, original, and funny, an irreplaceable presence extinguished too soon. Harrison Ford's secret affair with Carrie Fisher wasn't scandalous, but tender and intense, a fragile flame that burned briefly but left a lasting ache. Mary Marquardt anchored his early obscurity, Melissa Matheson shared his triumphs and tragedies, and Carrie was a fleeting escape from the grind. While the world immortalized Han and Leia, for Ford the reality left quiet wounds lingering in memory. In the early 2000s, fate offered him a new harbor in Callista Flockhart. They met in 2002, a simple connection beyond fame's noise. Ford was drawn to her kindness and warmth, and their love grew quietly. Though they had no children together, Ford embraced Callista's adopted son Liam as his own, finding a gentler, chosen family. In 2010, they married privately in New Mexico and settled on a Wyoming ranch, trading Hollywood's chaos for open skies, horseback mornings, and fireside evenings filled with Liam's laughter. Trials came differently. In 2015, after a plane crash threatened Ford's life, Callista's unwavering devotion was his steady anchor. She simply said, "I love him." For Ford, long scarred by absence and loss, Callista brought the rarest gift, presence. Their enduring private union stands as a Hollywood anomaly, a testament to calm after storms. Ford's legend was built on indestructibility. He refused stunt doubles, embodying authenticity but collecting hidden scars, torn ligaments, cracked bones, muscles forced to heal and move again. Each step in his 70s echoed these battles. "If the audience was going to believe, it had to be me," he said. But in June 2014, on the set of Star Wars, The Force Awakens, that illusion shattered. A hydraulic door on the Millennium Falcon crashed down, breaking his leg and pinning him under the very icon that defined his career. In a shocking moment on set, the iconic Millennium Falcon's hydraulic door slammed down, shattering Harrison Ford's leg and pinning him beneath the ship that immortalized him. The crew fell silent, production halted, and the myth lay wounded before their eyes. Though Ford later joked about the accident, those present never forgot the painful reality. The line between legend and man had been torn open, revealing raw vulnerability. Barely a year later, Ford survived a devastating plane crash when his vintage aircraft's engine failed, crashing onto a Los Angeles golf course. For hours, the world feared the indestructible hero was gone. His wife, Keely Flockhart, kept vigil in terror, calling his survival a resurrection. But the scars remained, not just physical, but the haunting knowledge that even legends can't outrun time. At nearly 80 in 2021, Ford tore his shoulder during Indiana Jones rehearsals, halting production and requiring surgery. The eternal adventurer was undone not by boulders or snakes, but the unyielding march of time. Cameras captured a leaner, slower Ford, his face marked by triumph and struggle. Yet when the director called action, the spark ignited. He was Indy again, defying age with every whip crack. Ford jokes about aging with gruff humor, but those closest see the truth: stiffness, careful steps, restless nights. He acknowledges the cruel irony of embodying eternal youth while his body betrays him daily. Audiences celebrated Indiana Jones 5 not just as a film, but as a farewell to a man giving himself piece by piece. His injuries and aging aren't failures, they're sacrifices. Each scar proves a man who refuses to retreat, who spends himself for art and fans. While others withdraw, Ford stands, determined to fight, even if the battlefield is his own body. On their Wyoming ranch, Keely marvels at his restless will. He doesn't know how to stop, making his resilience shine even brighter. This is Ford's final arc, not the cocky smuggler or fearless archaeologist, but a man outliving his myths, bearing scars where others collected applause. His tragedies mark time's inevitable toll, reminding us even heroes break. And yet Ford endures, scarred but unbroken in spirit. His defiance offers a new immortality, standing mortal and scarred, daring to carry on. For generations who watched him leap and fight, Seeing him falter is painful, but in that fragility, Ford gives us a mirror of humanity, resilient, unforgettable. At 83, Harrison Ford lives surrounded by vast wealth, yet shadowed by aches and memories no fortune can erase. His net worth surpasses $300 million, with properties ranging from Brentwood Hills to a Manhattan penthouse, but it's his spirit that remains truly priceless. Harrison Ford's life today is a study in contrast, from his vast Wyoming ranch to hangars filled with vintage planes and sleek jets, from Jaguars and Mercedes to Teslas and a prized Cessna. To the world, he seems the portrait of victory. The boy who once built cabinets now owns an empire. Yet those who know him see the irony. Ford now lives smaller, quieter, and more withdrawn. On his sprawling ranch, much of which he's preserved as conservation land, he finds peace away from Hollywood's glaring spotlight. Most days, he's a man in boots, tending the land and embracing stillness over spectacle. His home is with Callista Flockhart and her adopted son Liam, whom Ford has embraced as his own. No new fatherhood distraction, but a quieter redemption. Shared dinners, fireside laughter, and presence. After years of absence and fractured families, he's learned to stay. But even here, his body speaks its truth. Over 80, Ford still feels the legacy of stunts and accidents. His leg stiffens from the Millennium Falcon incident. His shoulder aches from Indiana Jones rehearsals. While he moves with steady resolve, those close see the slow caution and pauses. He still works out, flies planes, and maintains discipline, but every mirror reminds him the indestructible man has aged. In 2023, as Indiana Jones 5 premiered, thunderous applause met him, not just for a film, but a farewell. Emotional and unsteady, Ford admitted the chapter was closing. Yet even as his body falters, he pours himself into causes that will outlast him. As vice chair of Conservation International, he fights for nature, donates land, and speaks for climate justice. Long before it was trendy, he's a man preserving forests, rivers, and wild places that remain long after he's gone. There's also the private hero, rushing to rescue lost hikers in his helicopter, saving lives beyond the screen, perhaps his most authentic role. Yet grief shadows him, love's lost, families fractured, Mary, Melissa, Carrie gone too soon, children raised often without him. Guilt lingers amid the silence. As the crowds thin, quiet nights on the ranch fill with memory. Ford's legacy transcends famous roles. It's endurance. A man who's walked through fire, survived heartbreak, crashes and near death, yet risen unbowed. At 83, he's no invincible hero or box office king. He's human, weathered, softened, profoundly real. His story teaches us about survival, not the illusion of indestructibility, but the courage to keep going. To millions, he's Han Solo or Indiana Jones. To family, husband, father, and at last truly present. To the world a mirror, proof that even legends bleed, heroes grow old, and myths must bow to time. Now it's your turn. How do you remember Harrison Ford? As Han Solo, Indiana Jones, or something more? Share your memories below. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to honor the legend and the lessons his life continues to teach.